All right. Now, from your personal perspective, what do you really like to contribute to the educational system? What would you like to see change in the Nigerian educational system? I know it's broad, but yes, I'm trying to understand what you think you want to impute into the system.
I'm going to speak from the perspective of a teacher and also student, right? So what would I like to see in terms of education, like that is attainable to students in public school? I would like to speak on public school because private school is run by, individuals, and, they run their institution, except for policies. For one, I would like policies that kind of regulate what goes on, a more standard policy that regulate what goes on in the education system, because I know that can affect the private and the public. So if there is a policy that says that, okay, this is what is attainable, let's say for you to have a school, you have to have this number of technologies, you must have, sort of some standards, setting some standards, and then I know that private school will also fall in line, right? But for public schools, I would like to see more teachers, more trained teachers, not just teachers by circumstances because they couldn't find better job and they decide to go into teaching, thereby not knowing about the theories and the principles of education, not knowing how to create learning experiences for learners, and the quality of teacher actually affects the quality of teaching that goes on in the classroom. If as a teacher I do not know how to, structure my learning experience that every student is carried along, there is no one anyone can do. So I would like to see in the education system more trained teachers who are aware of theories that influences learning, how students learn. I would like to see those teachers in the classroom. I would like to see teachers that are more mentally aware, and the teachers that are very well paid. So that is definitely a given. Like, teachers need to earn more, they need to live more comfortably. So that way they know that they are well taken care of. So I think I've spoken from both the perspective of students and teachers, right? So for students, I would love to see students, like, it doesn't have to really focus on technology, of course, because we know that resources might not cover that much. Let's be realistic. But if we have trained teachers can bring up, the beauty of teaching is that you can use anything to teach. You can teach via storytelling. You can teach using everything around you, using concept around you, just to make sure that students kind of relate, they find what you're teaching relatable. I can bring stones in the class and say, I want to use this to teach this, because there is no technology, right? I'm not trying to say they should. If the means is available, of course, government should support schools with technology so that every student have access to technology and they can learn with it. However, in the absence of that, teachers have to step up, schools have to step up to train teachers to be the professionals that they are in giving out quality teaching and learning, engaging student-centered, using active learning approaches, where students get to relate with one another, communicate with one another, just for them to see learning as a thing of fun rather than a responsibility, something they just have to bear. They do not find it like, oh, for example, there are students that say further math, like, I took further maths in school and I don't see the relation to what I'm doing currently. So there are some subjects that are obsolete like that, And however, if there are changes to the curriculum by the virtue of policies being made, then I'm sure that education will be more, standard for us.
Before you were talking of the 21st century education and learning, and I find that to be very interesting. Yes, we're in the 21st century, even though most of what is happening in Nigeria doesn't really reflect that we're in the 21st century.
I think perspective matters though, right?
Help me
It might look
understand that.
like so Nigeria is also experiencing its own 21st century, basically. So we have millions of people living in Nigeria and we have lots of realities too. So for some places, From some locations, it might seem yes, but there are some other locations that are already aligning with the future. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. So there are other schools that already are in Nigeria. There are international schools in Nigeria that are aligning with the future, and there are some other schools that are coming up that's already strategically positioning themselves to align with the future. So it is not a kind of generic opinion that Nigeria is not yet in the 21st century. We are also in the 21st century. It's just that is what is happening to us.
I like to hear that. All
Thank you.
right. Now, tell me about the update of the curriculum. From what you know, is the Nigeria educational curriculum be updated to, because I like also I like a lot of things that you were talking about just now, that we are educating children who will fix the problem, no? That you
Mm-hmm.
educate them about problem solving strategy, no? So that they
Mm-hmm.
don't see the society and say, who is going to help us? They
Mm-hmm.
instead ask themselves, from what I know, how can I find a solution to the problem that is around me? Of course,
Mm-hmm.
this can be translated to a lot of things, like because if we educate children like this, the idea that graduate, finish school, they start asking, give me job, will no longer be
Mm-hmm.
relevant because you already
Mm-hmm.
tell them how they can find job for themselves. So the moment they
Mm-hmm.
are finishing, they are already going to be looking for what they can create, because at the end of the day now, business is not a secret thing. It's just
Yeah.
simply a service. Because
Mm-hmm.
as a human being, you are 20 years old, you are 30 years old, there must be something you can do for somebody. If
Mm-hmm.
you can do anything for somebody, that can be a business for you. You can be paid, because in many other
Yes.
clients,
You can offer a service.
what you can do can be also translated into money. So I
Mm-hmm.
want you to talk to me about that. This idea of problem solving
Solving.
strategy in the educational system.
Okay. So I would say that the world is changing rapidly. The job space is not what it used to be. When I was growing up, I used to hear this word white collar job. Those that work in offices, and I want to get a white collar job. I don't want to be an artisan and everything. But after COVID, the realities changed. Like, I would say that the reality has changed. What is attainable now? We see a 15-year-old kid can earn legally can earn legally in millions because they are coding. There are a lot of tech skills out there. No, there are young CEOs out there, thanks to social media, right? Thanks to digital technologies that we have, and that is what I would love the government to implement in the education system. It is not like we see people who don't go through school. Well, I support people going through school, like not just school, let's say training. Education is beyond the four walls of a classroom. We need to know that it's not everybody that has to succeed in a classroom to make it. Right. Some of them might go through a training institute. Okay, this is my area of interest. And then that person is groomed. I listen to stories a lot, stories of people who climbed the ladder, stories of people who did a lot of trial and error. And I know that some things that were taught in schools, like they're not just um I don't know, it's not just preparing the students for the future, right? So if the curriculum can be expanded to accommodate skills that would be used for the future. For example, like we talked about problem solving skill. Okay, this is a kid that is good at math but cannot really do maybe not strong in English or not strong in science. And the student is introduced to, let's say, computer, and the person is a tech whiz. This person can code and everything. So instead of spending more time trying to make the student more of a language learner, of course they can speak it and they can write it. Those are the basic skill. But the effort is focused on helping them succeed, in their own field of interest. I think education will be more productive that way. So skills like entrepreneurship, skills like digital skills, all the skills that we are having now, the future is looking different already. We have cloud computing, we have software testing, different skills. Some people are influencers, although I don't see influence. It's more of a lifestyle than, but let's say digital marketing, all these things we did not have it when we didn't have them when we were growing up. So it would be wrong for us to still continue using those strategies that prepared us for white collar job when employment is different. Now we have graduates that are graduating from university and they are picking up different skills because they realize that, oh, I studied microbiology in school and I really don't see myself working in that. So I really want to become what do you call it now, a software engineer. So they go and start picking up that skill differently. So if this kind of how do I put it now, if these jobs are more like, if there are elements of this job, if this awareness were ingrained into kids when they are growing up in schools, all this, we will see students with different interests. They are being built in a way that they are looking to solve problems, right? Oh, this is what I want to do. I can do this very well. And they get to start thinking outside the box. How can I do this to ensure that I can align with this job interest and everything? So that is what I mean by problem solving, right? Being able to think outside the box and pick a particular area where they can excel or thrive in and say, okay, this is what I can do and I can really do it really well. So rather than just following it's just like teaching a fish how to climb a tree. When the student is supposed to be going this way and you're taking them that way, it's not fair on them, not because they cannot learn, but because their interests are not just aligned with what you're trying to teach them.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. All right. To conclude the conversation briefly, what would be your final message here? What would be your final thoughts to conclude the conversation that we have had?
So I would say that the reality in education is different from what it used to be. And educators are rising up to the task, getting more training, getting more leverage, even trying to transition into education technology, making sure that they are very well ingrained, like they are very much trained to help students in the classroom. So I would say that teachers, right? They are not the teachers we used to have then. They are much more bringing different uh, skills together to ensure that they empower um, the learners in the classroom. And more people should be interested in that, like empowering teachers. Teachers should not be ignored in the grand scheme of things. Like I know there are philanthropies that want to sponsor student education and all, but I think teachers should be paid much more attention to ensure that they are very well empowered to support and make sure that the students are thriving in the classroom.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. This has really been very interesting, very precise, and very interesting conversation. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Thank you very much for the platform.